We don't got to do that. It's only the
Okay.
first time.
Okay.
Yo, so what's going on, man? We are back for another episode of Southern Hospitality, where me and my sister talk about the Black millennial experience in America. I'm your co-host, Landon Moss.
I'm Lauren Moss, and today we're going to be talking about mental health stigmas, older generations' perceptions of therapy, my personal experience, as well as Landon's personal experience with therapy, Black trauma, and particularly intergenerational trauma, and then the healing journey. So we got a lot of good stuff coming.
A lot of good stuff, and we got a little bit of time to cover it, because, you know, we could be talking for hours, really.
Get on this bad boy.
Especially you.
I know.
No, what's up, though? How you doing, though, man? Everything all right?
I'm good. I talked to my mentor today, and she just really put stuff in perspective for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You all right? You, like, looked off and, like, zoned out for a second.
I've been getting signs, dude, and now it's just weird. It's just weird. We'll talk
like
about
number
it.
No, we're going to talk about it now. Like, the number signs are like what?
Like numbers and feathers, bro.
Feathers?
So apparently feathers have some type of like significance. And I just saw the third feather. The way that I'm seeing them is super weird. Like yesterday I was walking, and normally I walk outside of my complex. Like I go out and it's like a 2-mile walk. But yesterday, for some reason, I was feeling down. So I was like, I'm gonna just walk within the complex. I end up meeting and talking to this lady who's super dope. I ended up Googling her, and she does a lot of stuff with like the Potter's House, Bishop T.D. Jakes.
Okay.
And she's just super, like, so much energy and stuff. And she really reminded me of like grandma. So she lives not too far from me. So we're gonna start walking together. But after I leave them, I'm just walking around the complex, and then I look up from my phone, and this feather is floating down and lands right in front of my feet. Right, and I'm like, what the heck? That's weird. I took a picture of it so I can remember. I keep walking. I'm looking at my phone, and a feather lands on my hand, and I'm just like,
you sure you ain't got no sick bird flying above you?
That's what I was. Listen, I'm looking in the sky like I'm not near a tree. I'm not near any birds. And then I just saw a feather like float by the window, and I'm like, what the heck? But
Yeah, that's wild.
It is super weird. So I kind of want to know what feathers mean, because I never see feathers. Now it's weird that I've seen 3 in less than 24 hours. So,
but you might have a bird on the brink of death flying around.
That keeps following me.
He's like,
help me. But anyways, off track. Tell me about your week. What'd you learn or unlearn today? This week.
Okay. Let me see. You know what's crazy? I didn't really even prepare for this, so I'm just gonna kind of wing it.
Yeah, I know. I put you on the spot like you put me on the spot.
Okay, cool. You know what? It's all good. One thing I want to talk about is how fragile masculinity is, especially among like Black men, and it's due to a number of different factors. And I want to look more into it so I can like really, you know what I mean, go into more depth about it. So I'm gonna briefly talk about it though. But recently there was this video that I just was watching right before we started filming, and it was about these dudes who were like, they like basically robbed, made fun of, and like just harassed these transgendered women for no reason other than they were transgender, and the dudes had like that had found them attractive or something. And then when they said that they're transgender, the dude was like, oh, now they doing all this wild shit,
terrorizing them,
because that shit threatened their masculinity, and like to the point where dude would kill. Dude was talking about killing her. Like, do you know how this, like, I can't even wrap my mind around that shit. Like,
to be at that point,
your shit is so weak that you would literally end someone else's life, bruh. And like, we got to do that. That shit, it just blew my mind to watch. And it like, man, it's really heartbreaking to see that type of shit.
What do you think contributes most to that?
I think it's a couple different things. I think social perception of how men are supposed to be, and then social perception on how Black men are supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, we think about shit like, we ain't supposed to be able to cry. You know what I'm saying? Like, so acting class once in my acting class yesterday, I had to do like a scene, And so I thought about something that was like super, 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 super vulnerable with mom. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm literally crying my eyes out, like, bro, like, like I couldn't even talk. I'm shaking and shit, like crying, crying. And people were like, that was you were let yourself be so vulnerable, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, like, that's like if a person that's overweight goes out in a bikini, people are like, you're so brave. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like that shit, like why can't they wear the bikini the same way? Why has it got to be such a big deal that I express vulnerability?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I think that same thing is something that people, black men, aren't allowed to cry. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you weak, bruh.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You'll get clowned. And I think, I mean, when you compare that to like, I don't know, it just showed me like how fragile masculinity is,
Mhm.
or male masculinity. It's annoying, bruh. And we gotta destigmatize like what it means to be a man or a black man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Because
I'm
it's
once
like
again
you're in
saying
this
this.
little box.
Yeah, yeah. And if you step outside of it, then it's like, oh, whoa, whoa, you ain't no black man, brother.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
What you
Like,
doing, brother?
yeah, that shit. I don't know. It's just. I hate seeing that video, man. That shit was like, man, like that's the type of stuff. It could have potentially just ruined my whole day. You know what I'm saying? But like, I don't know. I just think we need to talk about these type of things. We got to have these discussions and these conversations because people will be losing their lives. You know what I mean? And then we like say like, oh, Black Lives Matter, except
Yeah.
for them,
Yeah.
except for y'all. Y'all don't
Right.
count as black. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we can't say Black Lives Matter and not protect trans women or queer women or
Mhm.
bi women or what. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. They
we
all
really
have
got
to be included,
right.
not
All
just the
Black
ones
lives
that
have to
you
matter.
deem respectable
Except,
or
yep.
whatever. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree with
What'd
that.
you learn this week though?
I asked you that question and I actually didn't have
Uh huh. Yeah, you get your ass on
I
that
wasn't
spot.
prepared. Let me see. You know, it's funny. My mentor asked me that too. Like she's always like, well, "What'd you learn this week?" And I'm like, "What did I learn this week?"
Sweating bullets.
I feel. Let me see. I learned that what I told her was that shame really hinders you from doing a lot of stuff and connecting and reaching out to people. Just being ashamed of whatever. It's it's the greatest threat to authenticity and to living a life that's fulfilling is shame. That's something that I learned. Um, Shame, as far as for me, being feeling like I have to do everything on my own and
Mm,
asking for help can makes me look like I can't do it or I'm not capable. And she told me like, it's not any of those things. It's just if you want the life that you say you want, you have to make some changes to the way you're living. And one of those is the belief that you have to do everything on your own. People that achieve great things don't do it alone.
mm,
They don't. If you look at anybody who's ever achieved anything significant, they have done it with a team. You can do more with a team than you can by yourself.
yeah.
So, and I was like, well, what do you do? And she's like, well, you got
Oh
you gotta
shit.
you gotta release that shame is the first thing, is release the shame, and then also have faith in what you're doing and in your ability to discern who's right for you, because I
Mm,
think that's a really big fear with trusting people is you're afraid I'm going to be betrayed, which is a big fear of mine, is if I trust people that they'll betray me. And that goes back to I don't have faith in myself to discern who's trustworthy and who's not.
mm.
It really comes back to me. So learning to have more faith in my voice and my choices. Like I don't have a problem discerning people. I have a problem believing myself when I realize that a certain person isn't trustworthy. I try to go against what I feel.
You feel like
So
you try to like look for the best in that person type stuff.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. Like I didn't get a good vibe about this person, but baby, I'll be wrong, and I'm usually not.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually not. Actually, I never am. So that's what I learned.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I feel like I just recently had the whole thing. I don't even know if I should talk about this, but I'm gonna talk about it. I think one of the hardest things is realizing how you're saying like people to trust. And I think another thing is realizing when it's time to like move on from certain things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like whether it's like a relationship or a friendship or like trying to get a point across to somebody, like at some point you have to realize like it's time to move on. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because this is stagnant. This is a stalemate. It's not going anywhere. Or like this person isn't best for me, or this doesn't work for me. Like I'm doing nothing but harming myself more by trying to like, you know what I mean, get this thing back to what it was. And I
Yep.
think a big thing is realizing when it's time to move on or leave someone behind.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's really tough. Aunt Tracy put it, she put it in a really good kind of analogy. She's like, when you're with somebody and you're investing all this time and energy and effort into them, a lot of us stay in relationships because we feel like I've invested so much.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think of it as like an investment in stocks, if you're investing a lot of money in a stock and you just keep losing money, after a while, you're going to have to sell it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with relationships. If we're investing, and there's no growth, it's still stagnant, or you're losing yourself, it's time to pull out. It doesn't mean that that person is bad or that you two are bad. It's just y'all aren't clicking on that same cylinder, and that's okay. We walk with each other during our journey for however long. Thank you for the energy and the time spent. It's time to go our separate ways.
Yeah.
You know,
And that it is the worst. Bro, that shit sucks.
it's like,
But maybe no, let it go. Let it go. No, but no.
oh
Let it
yes,
go.
oh it's so painful. It is. It's so
Yeah.
painful. But it's worth it. It
Yeah.
is. Once you get out on the other side and you make peace with the situation, you'll be grateful and thankful that you cut it off when you did.
Yeah. And I think another reason too, because I just think about like some of the things that would happen would with me and me some of my friends or like past relationships would be like some things that would be like childhood traumas or something would affect how they act, and then that
Yep.
in turn would affect how I
Trigger
acted.
you. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But like me not realizing that was, I mean, that was just something that they haven't dealt with yet.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, especially like in the Black community, we have these issues that we haven't dealt with because there's like this whole stigma around mental health, and like
Yes.
it's not, you're not crazy. You don't need to worry about your mental health.
Yes.
And I always wonder, like, what's your opinion? It's like, why do you think that there's this whole stigma around Black people and not seeking help or focusing on mental health?
I think it honestly goes back to slavery and having to put on kind of like this shield, because acknowledging the emotions and the pain and the trauma that they had to endure would probably drive you crazy, honestly. So I think it was a defense mechanism. It was a coping mechanism for them to be able to survive and to just be alive, you know. And as time passed, because intergenerational, that's
Yeah,
the word, right?
intergenerational. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's the trauma that was experienced from our ancestors, passed on, passed on, passed on, passed on, to now things are beginning to shift, because with the internet, with globalization, we're starting to experience different things outside of just what we've been taught. So
Right.
now it's like, my parents don't believe in mental health or therapy, but my best friend goes and she's healing and she's happier. So
Yeah.
now it's like, or maybe I follow somebody on social media who talks about things that I didn't even realize were things, and it's resonating, like, I didn't even realize that was a traumatic event that happened to me.
Yeah.
I thought that was just normal. You know what I'm saying? So now with that access to more information, we're starting to realize, like, there might be more to this than what I've been taught,
Right.
you know?
I think that's the biggest thing is like changing your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you change your perspective, that's when you can see so much more. You're like, oh, I thought this was only a room with 3 walls in it. I step back, now I see it's 4. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, there's a door behind me. I could have left the whole time. And yeah, man, I think about, like, I was telling Dad the other day, or was it yesterday, 2 days ago or something. But I was talking to him about like You know, how you been, David? I was like, yeah, I just, I've been cool. Just started going to therapy and everything. And he was like, you all right? I'm like, yeah. Why is there a concern about that? And then, I mean, I partially understand though, like, you know what I mean? Because some people go when it's like, okay, now I'm on the edge.
Mhm.
But he just associated. Basically, he was like associating that with me being like suicidal or like on
Yeah.
my last leg. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
nah, I just want to understand and you know what I mean, see where the root of all these things, why I have a problem with like relationships or trusting people, like where's that stem from?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just want to break it down and get to like, you know what I mean, shed back all these different layers and stuff. And I think a lot of older black people look at therapy or like, you know what I mean, focus on mental health, like that means you're crazy.
Mhm.
They focus on that, like, cause ain't nothing wrong with you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or the flip side of it is like, if something is wrong with you, pray for it.
Are you reading your Bible?
Right. Yes.
Ah,
Man.
which
Yeah.
there are therapists that incorporate. Yeah, they have like a Christianity, and they incorporate that in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can give it to God and still go to therapy.
Right. Right. God got you. Yeah, he got you. But make sure you got you too. I think we talked.
Yeah,
We like briefly talked about this on an episode too. I think.
yeah. We talk all the time, so ain't no telling when we talked about it.
Right.
But
Right.
I wanted to ask you a question about how has your experience been so far? Like, because it's something that's pretty new to you. And again, if you don't feel comfortable talking about it, let me know. But how has the experience been for you as somebody that's new to therapy?
Yeah. Um. So I got this little defense mechanism that I do, and this is the only time I ever like really be like deep cleaning shit is when I got something I can do or something I'm nervous about doing. Like I was hella nervous about going to therapy. All of a sudden I start cleaning shit. I'm about to go cut the grass. I'm taking the dogs to dog parks. I'm like, why am I doing all this stuff? And you know what I mean? And I think it wasn't until I sat down with like a family member and we kind of just like we did it together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that really helped me. But I was just terrified, man, because like one of my biggest fears is learning how much I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, damn. So now I see. Like I thought I was at the end of the alphabet. I barely know A and B. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh shit, I got all this stuff. And I think once you just like lean into that like fear, you know what I mean? Like I'm just gonna do it. Then it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I can breathe now. I'm good. I'm good. But it was cool. It was a little scary. I was talking to him at first, and I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? I say like little stuff here and there. I think I'm a pretty open person. I like, but it's just some stuff that I like to keep in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
once again leaned into it, I was like, no. Like I just said something out loud, then I was like, okay. And then he would like relate it to something that would happen with him, and then I'm like, okay, so I can share more. And
Yeah.
before I know it, I'm like, like, man, I don't understand why, like, no. And I really do, but I don't know. It was
Yeah.
dope. It was
It's
dope.
it's a cool experience.
Yeah, it really like it just feels good to like let these things out and actually talk to someone. And then on top of it, I feel like a lot of people don't feel heard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think a lot of times
Yes.
people aren't heard. Like we don't
Yes.
really listen to people.
Yes.
Like I know some people that be like, so how you doing? You thinking about getting married? And it's like, oh, I don't know. Because me and such just got married actually. So we about to like, oh, you just asked me a question so you
Because
could,
you wanted to. Okay.
you know what I'm saying?
It
So,
wasn't even about me.
yeah. So I think a lot of times we don't listen to people, and I think a lot of times people don't feel heard.
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason why therapy is so amazing because you have
Yes.
this person that listens, that hears you, that understands you, and that like is actually it's like, oh, this person's invested in me.
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's probably like yeah, it's been a great time. It's only been one session. I got another one on Thursday. But what about you? How's your experience been?
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, I'm just smiling because I'm so happy for you. It is. It's so powerful. I'll get to my experience, but I don't think people realize how powerful it is to be heard. Like just to be heard.
Yeah.
Even if somebody doesn't completely understand your experience, to say like, I understand, that you're in pain. I
Hmm.
don't know what you're going through, but I understand that you're in pain, and I'm here to listen. I'm here to provide a space for you. So powerful. That's when you really start healing. Is when, and they're not, the great thing about therapy that I try to tell people is the difference between your friends and your family members is they will not give you advice unless you ask for it.
Right.
They're not going to tell you what you should do. They're not going to tell you you're wrong for doing something. They're going to be very unbiased, and they're going to ask you questions so you can come up with your answer.
Yeah.
It's very powerful. Um, my experience with therapy. So I was backtracking. I actually had been trying to find a therapist until I actually got a solid one for about 6 to 7 months, and I was
Damn.
very adamant. Yeah, I was, and that's something that it can be discouraging when you're first looking for a therapist, is finding somebody that you connect with, because you might not always connect with the therapist that you're in session with, and that's okay. I The first therapist I had, she was a white older woman, and she smelled like smoke, and
Mm.
she didn't really look like she was taking care of herself. So
I said, man, might need to go to.
and I remember saying, because something that's traumatic had happened to me, and I just remember saying, like, I really want a black therapist. Like, I really want a black female therapist. And she got offended. And like, she had she cut the meeting short and was like, okay, well, you can check out this and hopefully you'll be able to find your black therapist. And I'm like, okay, well,
Damn.
that was a good sign that I don't need to be working with you. I did find a black therapist. She was with school. So that's one thing for a lot of people. If you are in college, a lot of times they offer free mental health services. So take advantage of that. That's one that I used. Once I actually got a job, though, I found a lady in Atlanta who is, I mean, it was like we connected. It was still awkward the very first meeting, because again, you're kind of telling a little bit of your life story to somebody that you don't know.
A stranger.
Yeah, to a stranger, and it was the traditional, she sits in a chair and I sit on the couch and I just talk to her, and it's a little weird. But I mean, after 2 or 3 sessions, it was like, all right, so what's up? What's going on? Like, what's going on? And I'd launch it. I'd have my little list, and I'd be okay. Well, we need to go through this, and we need to go through this, and da da
Yeah.
da da. It's such a cool experience. And one of the greatest things that I retained from therapy was, one, understanding the motivation behind the things that I do. And then second, having the tools to basically, I don't know if this is a good analogy, but like talk myself off the ledge. Because there are times when before I was in therapy, I'd spiral and I'd be in a hole of depression, and it would last for days, weeks, whatever. With therapy, understanding like the triggers, what triggers me to go to get in those holes, and then having tools to keep myself from going to those holes. I mean, it's made the world a difference.
Yeah.
Not saying that they completely end or that you're cured from from whatever it is that you're dealing with, but you just manage it better so that life isn't unbearable. That's the huge thing. So,
How do you think you go about like recommending therapy to somebody? Because I think the same thing with the stigma. People think like if you recommend it, you're saying I'm crazy.
yeah, I
So
always go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, I was going to ask that question. Go ahead.
I always try to bring the focus back on me. Instead of saying you need therapy, I say I really benefited from therapy. I understand what you're feeling. I felt like that. And I'll give them like a scenario when I was going through a similar time. Like, I kind of understand what you're going through. There was a time when I was feeling like that. When I sought out therapy, this is the stuff that I benefited from. This helped me. And you can usually gauge when people aren't ready for therapy. That's one thing. I tried to force like 2 boyfriends to go to therapy. Like, just come with me. I realize now, a year later, after going to therapy for a year, that shit is hard.
Yeah.
That shit is really, really hard. And
What?
knowing, huh?
I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you. My bad.
You're good.
I was going to say like, what are some of the signs that made like? What are some of the things that you realize like, oh, that was a sign that they weren't ready for therapy?
If they keep, you'll notice people that are defensive. So if they keep trying to justify things that they're doing or justify not needing it, they're not ready for it. I like you were saying earlier, like, you need to know when to cut it. You need to know when to let go and just let it be. And people that are very defensive, that, oh, I don't need it, I'm fine like this, hands off. I'm still going to remind them, like, oh, this, it did help me, or these resources help me, but I'm not gonna force it on them.
Mm,
No. Yeah, because they're not gonna receive it. When people are ready to receive it, you'll know.
yeah.
You'll know. But if they're kind of shying away from it, there's not too much we can do to force them into it because it's tough work. And if you don't want to do it, you're not gonna do it. You're not. I mean, hell, I want to do it, but some days I'll be like,
Shit.
mm. Put this shit on the shelf.
It's stupid. Oh man.
Yeah.
I,
Go ahead.
nah, I was just gonna ask about like basically, it kind of falls under the same thing because I was thinking about like parents and stuff and trying to like recommend therapy for them and
Mm-hmm.
like so because sometimes it be feeling like a lost cause, you know what I mean? Like they just don't see like they think like, oh, it's too far in for me. I ain't no point of that. Like I'm already in my ways. Like
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and like how to approach that because it's a soft spot with your parents.
yeah,
Um, it's been very difficult to accept that they might not ever go. And again, you can't force anybody who's not ready. You get the signs when they don't want to go, when they're not ready, when they're afraid for whatever reason. And one thing, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about shame, and shame hinders you from living an authentic life. What are you ashamed about, right? And you can usually pinpoint what people are ashamed about by what they choose to defend or what they get defensive by. And so rather than tell them they need to do something, remind them of what they're worthy of. So that's an approach that I'm trying to use now is you're worthy of a happy life. You're worthy of you're deserving of a love that is fulfilling, that honors you, that respects you. You're worthy of that. I just want to remind you. And that's it. You're worthy of love. I love you.
yeah,
And I hope that when you say that enough, people will start to believe it. But I just think about what's going on in their head most of the time. Usually it's not good. So if when I interact with you, I remind you that you're loved and you're worthy of love, hopefully that gets in your head too.
yeah. I think that's something too. A lot of black people, like we've been taught for generations that we aren't worthy, not only of love but of being human.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that
Having to
has
prove it.
lasting effects on people,
Mm-hmm.
generational effects.
Yep.
You know, and I don't know. I'm just curious. What is I don't want to say a healing journey, but like, what does a journey to fulfillment look like, or like self love? I'm trying to think how to word that. Um, what does a journey look like?
The
Not
journey to
only,
like learning to love yourself.
yeah,
I think it is the journey of unlearning. Is that Layla?
I done kicked over a water. I got to clean my damn room. Let me go ahead and look for something I'm supposed to be doing. I start cleaning like a mother. My bad. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What you said?
I think the journey to self love is the journey of unlearning. I think when we're born, we love ourselves. I think we're taught to not love ourselves because it's more profitable when somebody doesn't. Um, yeah, I think that's what it is unlearning the stuff that you've been taught, unlearning the stuff that doesn't serve you, and replacing that with what does in a simplified way, simplified version. What do you think?
Shit, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm walking the right way or not. It's just scary sometimes. Like just walking through the unknown. It's like you walk into a cave and it's just all dark. You know what I'm saying? But it ain't no walls. It's just one big ass cave.
You don't know
It's
what's
like,
in there, what might jump out at you.
right. And I think, you know what I'm saying? You got your little light and all of a sudden you come into it's like, finally you see some walls and it's like 10 different ways. And it's like, oh shit, which one's the right one?
Oh my God.
I'm supposed to just blindly trust this is the way to go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like, I think I'm walking the right direction. I thought I saw a little light, but shit, we're getting dim.
What do you feel compelled to do?
Far as what?
Like in your journey, I always like what do you because I feel like when people have conflict about something, it's usually between what they want to do and what they don't want to do.
Yeah.
And so I always like, well, what do you feel compelled to do? Like, what do you really want to do? If all the whatevers were perfect, all the factors and the variables were perfect, what option would you choose? That's usually the way to lean, honestly.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it might sound a little reckless, but I think that's the way to lean because then you're whatever that is usually what's in alignment with who you really are.
Yeah. But I think that's nothing too. It's like who you really are. Um, Sometimes it's hard to know who you really are because you've been taught that this is who you are.
Yes.
Like I'm gonna give an
Yes.
example of like us
Yes.
growing up. I always thought I'm an athlete. I'm supposed to go play in the NFL. I'm supposed to do
Yes.
this. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like that's to me that was fulfillment for me. It was
Yeah.
like being a professional athlete. And so all of my goals, everything that I envisioned for myself was aligned with sports.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so then I started making little comedy videos, you know what I'm saying? Then I kind of like reframed my idea of success and my idea of fulfillment. And it was like funny shit, followers. And then, you know, me stuff started to fall off and I like didn't feel as good doing the comedy stuff. And I'm like, damn, like I feel something like I don't know. I feel like I want to be funny, but I also want to like educate people. But like that's not really funny. And then I started to like reframe it once again, and I was like, oh, I can be funny and educate people. I
Mm-hmm.
can be funny. And I think this is another thing too, is like the boxes that people put us in and then we also put ourselves in.
Yep.
Like you
Yep.
can be funny and athletic. You
Yep.
can be funny and woke. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like there's no one thing you have to be.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And I think once we allow ourselves to see it that way, then it's like, oh, like my idea of fulfillment went from this to this.
Yes. There's
You know what I
way
mean?
more. Yep.
There's way
Way more
more that's
opportunity.
fulfilling as opposed to just having to be Kevin Hart or like be funny all the time. Like I was fulfilling it to do a podcast and talk about life and my life experience as a black man.
Yes.
So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
That was a good 2 cents.
Hey,
Doing the proud dad smile.
your favorite smile.
Doing a lot of that lately. Yeah, I think that's an excellent point and I think too that's why there's a lot of people that are unfulfilled and depressed or feeling a lot of anxiety is we're under this belief that there's only one way to succeed. There's only one way to do it. That's a lot of, it puts a lot of stress on people. If I don't do it this way, then it won't work out.
Right.
As abundant as the universe is, and that's one thing my mentor is teaching me too, is there's a lot of fear when you pursue things because you think that there's only one way to do it.
Yep.
But there's so many different ways our minds can't even comprehend. So
I saw something that was talking about this dude was talking about at nighttime for some reason. You all right? What the hell was that?
These damn gnats.
No, you gotta explain that. You can't just do that and not say nothing.
These damn gnats.
Nigga, I thought you burped and your breath was stinking.
These damn gnats, bro.
I was watching this video because it was a video talking about like creativity and the power of our minds. And he was saying, first off, he was just like, yo, everything stemmed from an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just talking about the power of the creative mind. And like, there are things that we don't even think. Like people back in the day would have never thought that we'd have like Teslas driving cars. They ain't think that we'd have iPhones. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And he's just saying like, once you like open your mind up to like believing that there's more than just what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Like that's when like the real creative shit happens. And
Yeah.
I think that same thing kind of applies for the point that I was trying to make earlier that I completely forgot. I completely forgot why I started saying that. Bro, I'm sitting there like, oh shit, I'm about to come up to the point. This is the end point right now, and I do not remember. Come back, and it ain't never come back. Still, what was I saying?
You were talking about the power of creativity
Oh,
and
yeah. But I was saying all that to talk about like the fulfillment and also like the possibility of what you can be. But yeah, once you just open your mind, like I can be like anything. Damn, what was I saying?
what once you open your mind to the numerous possibilities that your brain can comprehend, or
I guess it's the open your mind to the ideas of the numerous things that you can be.
yeah,
Like you it's
you don't have
okay.
to
So
see it.
right. And like it's okay. Like I wanted to be a professional athlete, but I'm not. But it's okay because there's also this path.
Yeah,
And you know what I'm saying? I think once you open your mind up to seeing stuff like that, seeing it that way, that's when like I think that's how we can like stray away from like getting anxious about our careers or like being sad when something doesn't work out because it's okay. There's other things that I can be.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
I think too with anxiety, it has something to do with looking too far in the present
Mm.
sometimes.
What you mean?
Like, I just think about the times when I get very anxious. It's normally when I'm working on something and I'm like, this isn't going to do good. I don't, the artwork on this is bad, or I'm judging myself, but it's about something that hasn't happened yet,
Mm.
you know? And so, when just to bring it back to what you were saying about being an athlete, like if we focused all of our energy on being an athlete in the future, and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, there's a lot of anxiety around that, because what if I don't become an athlete? What will that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean about myself, my self-worth, and my value?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I made a point.
No, I
I
think
feel like I probably could have added some more to that, but
no, it's all good. It worked out, man. You got to the end point, hit it with a yeah, looked away. I said, yeah. Um, yeah, I'm looking at the list and we've covered every single thing.
and we're at 37 minutes.
And I was like, see, this right
No,
here.
because we're not done. We're still talking about the healing journey.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
You're right.
yeah. I went on a 10-minute spiel about the healing journey. Did you watch that whole video? I was surprised people watched it.
Oh, you know it's crazy. I had watched about 3 minutes of it, and then someone
Okay.
had called. No, look, someone called me, and I forgot. But then I like at that point, Instagram had refreshed and went back to like the original timeline. And I was like, you know what I mean? But can you talk about what you was talking about on the video?
Okay. So as you guys know, I run a blog called To Myself From Myself, which I've not been running very well lately. And the gist of the blog is basically to talk about my mental health journey and the stuff that I've struggled with, provide encouragement, kind of like a community for other people along the same, it's along the same time in their own journey. So I have been seeing a lot on social media. They got these really pretty graphics, and they look nice, and they're like pastel purple and pink, and they got like the emojis and stuff on. They look good. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't. I'm not that artistic. Well, I don't know if I am. I don't care to be. What's important to me is, do you understand the message? Do you get it? Right.
Right.
And one thing that I was like, I think people are starting to get this confused, is social media makes healing look beautiful. I mean, it makes it look like amazing. It's this amazing journey, and you come out as this great person, and it's just beautiful. And it is a beautiful journey, and you do come out better. But while you're in it, it's shit. It's literal shit. It's not fun. It's not comfortable. It doesn't feel good. And the reason why it doesn't feel good, which I was saying in the video, is among other things, you're experiencing something. It's this theory called cognitive dissonance, right? And I'm going to pull out my little dictionary so I can make sure I say it right. So, cognitive dissonance it's when you experience mental stress or discomfort when you hold two or more contradictory beliefs, ideas, or values at the same time. Now, the important part of that is that when your ideas or your actions are not consistent with each other, like your actions and then what you believe, you're going to do everything in your power to change them until they become consistent. So when you're healing, healing is really about unlearning the things that you've been taught. Going back to what we were saying earlier, it's just the process of unlearning, coming back to yourself. When you are healing, you are basically telling yourself, acting, and reframing beliefs that you have held your whole life, that you've been taught before you even realized what these beliefs were. So if I'm standing in the mirror and telling myself, I am beautiful, I am worthy, I am deserving, that shit sounds fake and it feels fake. Okay. It does. It feels fake. It sounds fake. I'm like, this shit is stupid. It's stupid. Yeah. I'm not gonna believe this.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't feel good. And that's the thing with cognitive dissonance, is you're constantly in this push and pull of wanting to return to what you know, but knowing that it's not serving you, and wanting to get to this better person, this better version of you that's healed. And you're constantly bouncing back and forth. And with that comes the shame and the guilt, like, damn, I'm still doing this. I know better. Well, yeah, you develop that habit for 25 years. It's going to take longer than 2 months to fix it or to change it, to replace it with something that serves you. So that's why when people are healing, and I got on because I'm like, when the universe puts a message in my heart and it just keeps agging me, I'm like, this message is clearly for someone else. That's what I wanted to drive home, is social media will have you thinking that healing is supposed to be to feel good. It doesn't. It doesn't feel good. But who I am now and how I feel now after doing the work, and I'm not even halfway through it, is so much better than where I was a year ago. So much better than where I was 2 years ago, when it was hard to get out the bed, when I was struggling to just do basic stuff. Like, now I have the tools to pull myself out of meltdowns, pull myself out of breakdowns, to really analyze how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
But it took a lot to get there. And there was a lot of times I wanted to give up because this shit is too fucking hard. It's hard. It doesn't feel good, but it's worth it. And that's what I wanted to really drill home with people. It does not feel good, but it is worth it. And when you look back and see, and I encourage people to keep a journal, just to record what you're going through. Whenever you feel a certain way, or whenever you're feeling down, record it. Because when you look back and see the growth, you'll be like, damn, that shit was working. I know that shit was working. Because when I go back and read the stuff that like where I was, I'm like, dang, I'm so grateful to that person for believing that they were worthy enough to get to this point. Because that in itself was monumental, for years being told something else, and then just having that ounce of faith to say, no, I'm gonna try to prove to myself that I'm worth more. So worth it. So worth it.
Yeah. The process, I think, is something that social media has made people believe doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Ooh, you know what I mean?
A word.
Because, like, we only see the end result.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, this person did this. And sometimes when we're going through the process, people don't even realize it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I just think about, like, it brings back to me with, like, social media stuff, how I started on Vine and everything. You know what I mean? Like, people see me now, they're like, oh, did you've always been, like, popping it? No, I wasn't. And even me, myself, sometimes I forget the process of, like, of me posting multiple times a day. You know what I mean? Me collaborating with people, like, me really taking these leaps of faith and doing all these different things. Like, and I think some social media has conditioned us to, like, kind of forget about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when we don't get, and this is another reason why I think that a lot of people are so anxious, is when we don't instantly get that result that we're looking for, it's like, I failed. Ooh. No, you didn't. You ain't put in you haven't gone through the journey yet.
You ain't even really started.
Right.
I mean, and the like, start line's still right there.
Right. and once you start to have, like, these shit DJing stuff, that's why I post my mistakes and stuff, is because, like, I want to show people, like, dude, I ain't just nice on the ones and two. I mean, I'm nice, but, like, I be fucking up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a process. Understand that there is a process to everything. You know what I mean? And there will be bumps and bruises along the way. LeBron ain't just come out the room. People, oh, LeBron just be, yeah, he was good. LeBron spends $1 million a year on his body to make sure that he's in that top condition. He's constantly working up 6 in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, people see LeBron, they see games, and it's like, oh, dude, he's just good. This man is putting in work constantly. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think people got to do we have to do a better job of understanding, like, there's a process to every single goal. And it's not always beautiful. Whether it's your mental health journey, whether it's your journey in your career, like, sometimes you gotta, you know what I mean, like, give some coffee for some people.
Yeah.
But at some point, you will be a CEO. You know what I mean? You might not be, but like, the journey will have been worth it. Whatever you end up being.
Yeah. Yeah. A word, bro. You spoke to my heart there.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, it's talking to me.
That's how I felt with the acting stuff, because I remember, I saw a couple of my friends, they on shows and stuff, and I'm like, man, like, yo, they just, we started on Vine, now they doing big stuff and like blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, I ain't never gone no acting class. I just expected it to happen. I don't know what they've been doing. Just salty because they own shows and I'm not. But nigga, what have you done to put in the work to be on a show?
Yeah.
You ain't gone to no auditions. You ain't took no type of classes. You just gonna show up and just be good?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like, now I think, because I understand it now, like, that's why I look forward to class. That's why I'm constantly like, dude, I look up so much stuff for like acting all the time, because like, once you fall in love with the journey, it's like, it makes it so worth it, bruh.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
totally agree.
Then you get to the end going, you like, oh yeah, this is cool and all, but like, I had more fun on the journey. You know what I mean? That was a fun. Yeah. The journey is the fun part.
Yeah.
So just getting to understand it.
That's a word, bro. That's a word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. Because with this marketing company, I'll be like, when this shit go hit, man. And I get what you're saying. Like, when you love it, it's just something you can't leave alone. Like, right. I get frustrated. I'll leave for 30 minutes and I come back and start looking up newsletters and stuff. And I'm like, 45 minutes later, I'm like, damn. Start writing down notes and stuff. I can add that. Like, it's so much fun. Like, I could do this all day, literally, because it's so much fun to me. Like, I really enjoy this. So, yeah, I think of it like when you said trust the process. I think of it like growing a plant. Like, you get in the soil, planting the seed, and then the process is watering it, tending to it every day. You can plant seeds and then just leave. And expect it to grow. Or they get the soil and don't get no seed. This is something that you gotta tend to every day. Yeah. Every day you gotta tend to. And if you keep checking for whether you see growth or not, and measuring whether you see growth, like that's a measure of how well you're doing, or if you're going to grow whatever, then you're going to get discouraged. Like, nah, trust that you planted it correctly. You're tending to it every day. You're going to see growth over time. I think that's what it goes back to what you were saying, is we just see the big ass plant. Mm-hmm. We didn't see the process of tending to it every day.
Yeah. And also understanding that, just go back to your plant analogy. I got some plants that was looking beat the fuck up. So I'll show you these pictures, bro. I had this plant. This mug was dead as hell.
The one that was like basically on its way out.
No. That was a project. This one that I got, and it was. Look at it. Wait, let me see if I can show you.
Oh, this that's the one you revived it?
Slumped, dead. I thought he was on his way out, and I'm like, dude, like, what's going on? Like, he looks terrible. This man is thriving. Look at him now. I took this picture. Look at him now.
God. Oh my God.
And I think even understanding when your plant is about to die, there's always room to maybe cut some leaves off and get it back to how it should look. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even after you plant your seed and you cater to it, sometimes it still might not work out. But there's a way. Damn, I was on the track and I had some I forgot. Damn it.
It might not work out, but there's still a lesson to be learned from it.
Yeah, we're gonna just say that. Yeah.
Okay. Tony Robbins said this quote that I really liked. He was like, I don't know if he said be adamant about your goals, but be flexible in your approach to them. And I was like, that's good, because a lot of times we'll have a goal and it's got to go this way. And meanwhile, there's an easier way, but we're not open-minded to it. So I like that. Be adamant about your goals, but be flexible in your approach.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's real dope. What are your goals? Put you on the spot and shit.
My
fact,
honest.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
What are your goals in your healing journey?
Ooh, that's might have preferred to just, what are your goals?
If you feel comfortable talking about it.
Oh, no, it's not that. It's just I haven't really sat and thought about it. But I guess one of my goals would be to understand my triggers to the point where I don't react to them. Like, I want to get to the point where I don't react to people or to things. I want to be able to take in information and then decide, is this something that I should respond to or not? In some situations I do it, but a lot of times I'm either anticipating that something's gonna go wrong, which isn't good. Or I'm just, I hear something and then I react. So I want to get to the point where I'm not reacting. I'm making a decision about whether or not I want to engage.
Yeah.
So once I get to that point, yeah. What about you?
Kind of the same thing. Just understanding where certain triggers come from. And understanding not everything that other people do or how other people feel is on me.
Yeah.
Because that's literally what I'm talking to my therapist about on Thursday, is that because anytime I see a friend like not on their path of their healing journey, you know what I'm saying? Or like them going through bumps, and I'm like, oh, I gotta help. You know what I'm saying? Just understanding where these things come from and understanding like that it's okay not to be Superman all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just want to learn more about myself and understand how I can't heal the whole world, but there's parts of it, at least in mine, that I can. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
What are your goals, like, just outside of therapy, like just in life?
Man, I want to make a difference.
Yeah.
Now, at first I was like, I want everybody. No. Hey, everybody cool. But I really want to help Black people, especially Black men, like, heal.
Yeah.
And then in part by doing so, we can help bring y'all up, Black women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of Black men are so damaged that we're not even capable of helping other people in the Black community out.
Yeah.
But we got to realize it.
Yeah.
We got to realize that we're damaged.
Yeah.
And that it's okay, long as you understand it and are taking the proper steps to heal. Now, if you just walk around limping because you got a broken leg and not ever fixing it, you ain't never gonna be able to run that track meat. You know what I'm saying? You can't hand a baton off to the next person or take it. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
That makes me think. How do I spin this? I've been thinking about this too. A lot of the reason why people don't get help is because they don't call a spade.
Right.
Like, if I think I'm fine, I'm not gonna go get help. And a lot of times too, people think they benefit more by being in pain, or not being in pain, but by being a victim. Right. So like you were saying with the, if I got a broken leg, yeah, you might not be able to help nobody, but people gonna be asking if you okay.
Yeah.
And for somebody, if you feel like you're not worthy, then acting like the victim is an excellent way to get sympathy from people, which makes you feel like people care.
Yeah.
I know that was a random aside, but I just thought about that. Yeah.
100%. I ain't gonna lie, I've done that before.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I've done it before, man. Like,
definitely.
Let me make y'all feel bad for me so y'all come talk to me. Yo, I remember one time I was in third grade. One time I was in was it third grade? Anyways, it might have been third grade because we was in Kentucky. I remember there was this big-ass hill when we was playing recess. Do you remember that outside? Was that no? That was I'm tripping. That was
I was like,
Kansas. That
bro,
was
they were in
Kansas.
Kentucky.
No,
Yeah.
that was Kansas. It was Fort Riley Elementary School. There was that big ass hill by the little
Yeah.
basketball courts and stuff. I was sitting on that rock one time. Wasn't nobody paying me no attention. I started crying. Crying and shit. All of a sudden, people coming over to me, teachers, students, everybody coming over. I'm playing basketball all of a sudden and stuff. I literally did it, cried for no reason. And I have no idea why I remember that. I was sitting on that rock and I was up there and I just was like, nigga, what is you crying for?
You should have known right there you was destined to be an actor.
Oh, that it was so random, but yeah, man, I don't know that whole I just randomly thought about that.
I'm starting to pay more attention to that. I mean, me and you are alike in that, we want to help people, and people know the people that want to help, and victims know the people that want to help, and who they can go to continue to get sympathy from. So also understanding that dynamic so that it doesn't, because that's a draining dynamic to constantly be giving attention and whatever to somebody, and it just, you recommend something, they don't want to do it, and they just keep complaining.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I wonder how we run out of time, but
we got 4 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to go because that's gonna be a whole spill. But I don't know, man. Like I just wonder how is it, and I know it's possible, but I just don't know how we stop feeling bad, because I genuinely feel bad. Like if I see someone, like if I'm going through stories and someone's like going through something, I'm like, you gotta help. Like I would literally drive to someone's house to make sure they all right. You know what I mean? But like if I could do it, if I a whole month straight every day, every one of my friends post something new about that, and I'm driving to 30 different places, like that's draining. You know what I mean? And like I personally can't see it right now, but it goes into us shifting our perspective of like, how do I like not overextend myself? I think that's what I got to figure out, and I think we're gonna talk about that on Thursday. Me and old.
You don't have to say his name. I don't even know if it's illegal. I know with my therapist, I got to sign a whole bunch of documents that said I wouldn't disclose our relationship.
Okay, yeah. I was like, damn, can I even talk about that anyway?
I know they can't unless there's like an immediate threat or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But shoot, I'll tell y'all her name because she good. Tell her I sent you. She's good, bro. I remember we had one session. I wasn't, and I'm gonna wrap this up too because we only got about 2 minutes. But we had one session, and I was talking about a situation with my ex and something that he had did that had really bothered me, and I was so angry, and like nobody could get it. And I'm just telling her to her, I'm mad, I'm whatever, and she's like, so it sounds like what he did made you feel unsafe, and it sounds like safety is very important to you, and that's something that you've not had before. I'm like, you know that meme when that dude's like, yeah. That's literally how I felt. It was like, you're right. Like, I've literally chased safety all of my life. Every decision that I've done or made has been, will it bring me financial safety? Will it bring me physical safety? Will it be like, everything that I have done has been under the guise of this, I have to be safe. I have to be safe. So I was like, that's why it bothered me so much. Because it seemed like small to people, but to me it was huge. It was huge. And that
do you think that's something? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you think that, why are we rushing like we can't go over an hour?
I'm like, let me get this out.
I was just thinking that. I'm like, wait, why are we like? It's okay for it to be an hour and 5 minutes. Yeah, like this motherfucker could be 2 hours if we wanted it to. I was just gonna say, I can't believe I'm over here like, well, I get to, do you think that that's something that a lot of black women like? That's something a lot of black women feel.
Oh, I don't want to speak for all black women, but I feel like, yeah, I do. Because I feel like our safety is threatened all the time. That's my perception, is physically our safety is threatened, emotionally. That's why we put on the independent black woman stereotype. Financially, independent black woman, I'm not going to depend on no man to take care of me because he can leave at any moment. Yeah, and then emotionally, I don't feel safe to be vulnerable. So yeah, I think there's a lot of Black women that can resonate with that and that don't, because I didn't even realize that that was huge to me until she said, and I think that's another reason why therapy is so important, because you can tell yourself these stories all the time and not even realize the root of them, and then somebody else will come in and be like, well, it sounds like it's this, and you like, oh my god, it is.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, and that was I remember that moment, like, wow, yeah, that's why what he did was so, like, I felt so betrayed by it, even though it wasn't that, on the grand scheme of things, it wasn't like he cheated or anything, but it was so important to me. And I think once we realize, that's another thing with healing, is once we realize the root things that are very important to us, we are able to communicate that to our partners, and them in return, our relationships will be better because we understand. It's not like, oh, you tripping. It's, oh, I understand. That made you feel unsafe.
Yeah. Damn, that's good, man.
It was, yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I was like, she is good. she is
that
good.
girl good.
She is good. Yeah. Oh.
Oh, my joint just froze. Yo, I was like, I know we ain't lose the whole show just now. Yo, you
like,
see? Oh. Did I freeze on your screen too?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Hey, let's go wrap this up before we go ahead. Put it in this one, ASAP.
God, like, y'all think y'all go about if you won't. I run this.
All right, man, we about to hop off this thing. Yo, thank y'all for listening, man, to another episode of Southern Hospitality. Yeah, that mug, bro. I thought that was it. I was like, nah. Woo, okay. All right, man. But seriously, though, thank y'all for tuning in, man. We always appreciate y'all. Once again, make sure y'all leave a review if you can. We greatly appreciate that. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I don't know if you can leave reviews or not, but if you can, do that. And you got any last words?
No, thank you guys for tuning in. Share it with a friend. Leave us feedback. Follow us at Southern Hospitality on Instagram, and DM us. We will get back to you.
Yeah, so we're gonna be there, man. Y'all make sure y'all there too, because we will always appreciate it. We're gonna do everything we can to speak on the Black millennial experience in America. I'm your co-host, Landon Moss.
And I'm Gabby Moss.
And we are out.